Well, you started it. I mean, I think you were working in television before I was.
I started, what, the television renaissance?
Me
personally?
I'm not sure I'm going to totally get behind that, but I remember kind of like seeing, oh, Liev's on a television show, and what is it, and like what's going on there.
One of the luxuries of doing television is that you're in one place
Yeah.
for a consistent period of time. And between Naomi and I, it was like 3 months here, 3 months there, and wanting to have some more consistency for them, like a neighborhood and curriculum and friends.
I think about you guys actually a lot. I think they're people also, like Peter and I have the same problem. And we usually don't go with him when he goes to shoot something, but they always come with me, pretty much. Is that how you guys do it, or how do you?
No, I want it to be more, I mean, I don't like being away from them.
Yeah, I don't think he does either.
Yeah, so I have to, I mean, I beg.
For them to come.
Yeah. I should just say that I was completely riveted by this show. And I was like, oh God, I gotta watch Maggie's TV show because I'm gonna talk to her. And I couldn't stop. I mean, I went through the whole thing in 2 nights. It was just so freaking good.
Thank you.
It's really, really compelling. What drew you to Nessa? And what about her in particular felt original and unique to you?
I felt, when I read it, I felt like I'd never read anybody like this before. Maybe partially because it was 8 hours of being with one woman, and I got to read all 8 of them. So you got to see the ways in which she's powerful and graceful and very intelligent and unapologetic for all of those things, and then the ways in which she's broken and like a tiny child and confused, and so you got sort of all of it at once. Hugo Blick wrote and directed and produced all of them.
And he wrote them all first?
He wrote them all first, and we cross-boarded them all. So we shot like episode 1, episode 5, episode 8, sometimes all on the same day.
So this was all written before you began?
Yeah. That's
kind of a luxury. So you know what you're doing,
yeah.
And you know the arc of it.
Yeah, and that is the thing that freaks me out about doing more television, is I just kind of disassociated in a way that it was television at all. Like I read all the scripts, I had all the scripts, I had one director. It was like exactly like choosing to do a movie, you know?
A really long movie that then they parse out into episodes.
Yeah, which freaked me out actually, like maybe the 2nd day of shooting, or the 3rd day of shooting, I kind of went, wait, this is actually a different thing than I've ever done before. Everyone is counting on me to hold up 8 hours of something, as opposed to like the 2 hours that I feel I can at least handle. But the form of it and the choice to do it was just like doing a movie, same exact thing. But when you're on a television show and it isn't always the same director and the writers haven't totally figured something out, what do you do?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what's fun about doing television. That's sort of the wire act of it, is that you're out there without a net, and you rely on the people that you're working with. You rely on the ensemble of actors, and you rely on the team of writers and the director and the people who are watching, and you talk about it. Unfortunately, as you know, it's so fast that you don't have a tremendous amount of time to have an open debate. But the most challenging scenes for me are the ones that don't work. The ones that are, I think, typically people think are challenging are the scenes that are very dramatic and have some emotional pull on them.
Right.
And those are the scenes that generally I find the easiest because there's something to do and you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that the scenes that are more difficult are the scenes that you're not sure, or maybe the writers aren't sure, or they haven't found yet what they want the scene to be about, and you're sort of rifling around in the scene with different attitudes and approaches and takes on it in the hopes of finding something that has some narrative continuity to it. It's certainly nothing like theater where, I guess what I miss about the theater is the mark is set, right? The text is what it is.
Yeah.
And you have 5 or 6 weeks as a company to try and figure out how you're going to deliver that text. Whereas there's something about film and also television where the subject or the theme or the idea behind the thing is fluid. can change. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's a little more behavioral.
I actually find theater really difficult because, well, some elements of it. And that, like, when you're working in television, you have to, or film, and a lot of the film I've done is really fast too, so you don't have a lot of time, but you know, you kind of have a problem to solve or something you have to crack, or you have to find a way to put life inside something. And you have a short time of feeling that kind of uncomfortable feeling of how are we going to do this? Whereas in theater, you have that whole 5 or 6 weeks or 8 weeks through previews, or maybe even the whole time of what is this going to be, and like living in that uncomfortable feeling of I don't know what this is going to be. Whereas in television, you have to like sort it out right away.
I think that's part of how I try to act. I try to remind myself to act when I'm doing film or TV, which is that make mistakes. Make as many mistakes as you can, and let the editor, let the directors, let them deal with it.
Like what kind of mistakes?
Just to take risks. I think the difficult thing, particularly with a character like Ray, is that he doesn't speak.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a stoic.
But especially for you, I think about...
Who talks so much normally.
But like, you know, we don't know each other that well,
Yeah.
but I do think of you as a verbal person, as a literary person. So I wonder about
I've
how
always
that
been
feels.
a language-based person, and that's why so much classical theater is in my background, because those are the things that I like. There was a certain athleticism to it, and the text was set, and you had to meet it.
Right.
And that's part of why I think I was drawn to Ray, was because, wow, I've always been a little curious about film acting and how you convey character, because I don't believe that it is entirely on language. And so here was a character who was completely stripped back of language and how to sort of navigate not only that, but also subjective perspective, like being the lead, which has never interested me. Only because I always think the supporting characters are so much better.
Right.
Because the lead is so reactive. As the lead, you tend to watch things and comment on them for the audience, whereas the supporting actor gets to do those things.
Right,
And you always think,
right.
oh, that's a good part.
Okay, so Ray Donovan came to you at a certain point. It called to you, it spoke to you, you decided to do it, but then you keep playing the same part, you know, for a few years. And how does that work in terms of, you know, it continuing to teach you something about yourself?
Emotionally, I was drawn to the idea of being a father and being a partner in a contemporary world. And I was I think it's been a theme for me my whole life, is fathers and being fathers and being a father. And but, you know, I had the same problem with theater. You know, I couldn't run a show for more than 4 or 5 weeks without going nuts. So there I am. I just, you know, I go nuts a little bit, and then I get a rest, and I come back and I do it again.
Right.
But that's the trick, I think, is to like find the new thing each season, is to try to find the new angle. And I know we work pretty hard at that.
And you're a part of, yeah, how much are you involved in deciding what the story is going to be? Not so much the plot points, but how it's going to be relevant to you still as you go back and do it again. I'm
like you. I don't want to know too much.
Yeah.
If I get too involved in
Yeah.
controlling things,
Yeah.
or it becomes confusing to me. Like,
Right, because it's the sort of things you don't even know about, right,
Yeah.
that are happening that someone else is maybe able to see, but you
Yeah.
can't even see at the time.
Yeah, and I think you know, once you can only invest in so much, I think, intellectually, and if you're really sort of following the character and trying to stay true to that, it's hard to also kind of control his journey.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. But then you're in the hands. I mean, it's like, it just scares me so much not to be able to
Scary.
read a script. You know, you're like, how do I know that this is going to be what I hope and wish it will be? It's always dangerous, I feel like, to read a script and go, okay, well, like in the best case scenario, this would be awesome, you know, because that's so rarely the case, you know.
For me, that's the gamble of acting anyways. It's just that in this format, it's really extended.
Yeah. Yeah.